What's up, YouTube? It's October 30th. It's about 11:30 in the morning here. I'm still in the truck stop. I got the windows open, so if you hear any noise outside or whatever, that's what it's from. Uh, I want to make this video talking about different ways to search the Schneider load board. So this will probably be beneficial for you newer guys that are already over here, or even people that are thinking about coming over. It might give you some things to think about whenever you're searching the board. Now, I can't show you the actual load board because that's proprietary, and I'd get in some serious trouble if I got caught. And I'm not going to lose my lease because of that. So, but what I will do is I got some examples of loads that were pulled from the board. I kind of vagued them out a little bit, but so I'll show you some things to look for on that. But we're going to start out with some search tips. There's no right and wrong way to run over here. You're going to find your groove. But I'm going to give you some basic guidelines that might help you find that groove a little bit faster. First thing is, and I've said this before, and this is all from my experience, study that whole entire load board, because that whole entire load board is going to become your backup plan. A lot of guys, when they come here, the reason that they come over here is because they want more home time and more money. Well, you can achieve that, but you have to know how to do it. In order to know how to do that, you have to study the board and see what is on there. And most guys, like myself, end up running a very small area and they stay close to the house. Everybody knows there's no secret. I run Ohio, PA, Maryland, West Virginia. I run that small triangle. But I don't limit my search to those areas. That's why I say study that whole board. And that's my next point. Don't limit your search. So if you live, just use me as an example. I live in Pittsburgh. I'm not going to just look for Ohio to PA, PA back to Ohio, Ohio to PA, PA back to Ohio, because that I could be costing myself money. I could be leaving a good load on the board because I'm just trying to stay within a certain lane. If I can make the money that I want to make by running that, I do it. If it's not there, I go outside the box. Normally, I don't have to do that, but occasionally I do. But you want to look and see what's really out there. Because like I said, that whole entire load board is going to be your backup plan. And bring into this what you learned as a company driver. So for example, as a company guy, when they'd send me to Florida, what would happen? They would usually deadhead me out because there's nothing coming out. It's not always the case, but the majority of the time, that's what you'll end up doing. So even though you'll make good money going into Florida, you're going to take the hit coming out. So I would rather be consistent than go for the big money and then take a hit. So just keep that in mind also. So like I said, don't limit your search to one point back and forth. Learn the whole board. Learn what's out there because it's going to be your backup plan. Also, push your search radius out. Don't just limit it because you're afraid to deadhead. And that's another tip. Do not be afraid to deadhead. And I'll show you an example of that when we get to that point. Push that search radius out, man. 150, 200 miles, 250 miles. You know, I'm not saying you got a deadhead 250 miles, but don't be afraid to look. It's not going to cost you nothing. It's not going to kill you to open that window up. Because you can find some good stuff. Sometimes you'll find that hidden gem by doing that. Same thing with your date ranges. When you're searching, so like today's the 30th. If I'm looking for a load, like I'm going to pick up today, I'm going to deliver tomorrow. I'm actually going to go home, but if I was looking for a load for tomorrow, I wouldn't just search October 31st through November 1st to see what I could pick up tomorrow and deliver the following day. Push your date ranges way out. So, for example, if you're looking for something for the 31st, push that search out to say maybe October 20th all the way through November 7th. Because sometimes you'll find loads that are loaded and they're going to sit there for a week or a week and a half because they can't deliver until, say, November the 2nd. But they'll load it October 25th. Well, if that load is loaded and it's still sitting there, you may be able to grab that. Whereas if you don't ever set your date ranges back, you're never going to see that load in your search. So by pushing your date ranges out, you're just giving yourself more options. A lot of loads get missed because people won't do that. So those are just a few quick tips. Now I'm going to pause this. I'm going to go to my poor man's whiteboard here. I'm going to show you some stuff from the board. Show you some things that I look at and things to consider as far as load examples go. So hang on, I'll be right back. All right, I'm trying to keep this steady here because I'm holding it. These are examples of 2 loads on the load board, okay? Like I said, they're very vague because I can't show you the actual cities and customer names and all that stuff. So this is an example of the type of thing that you would see. This load goes from Ohio to Pennsylvania, pays $705. It would pick up on a Thursday between basically midnight and 5 p.m., and it delivers anytime Thursday between 9 a.m. and then 9 a.m. Friday. It's a drop and hook on the pickup, a drop and hook on the delivery. Now this is the information that's right off of the load board. It's 252 miles, $292 a mile. It weighs 36,000 pounds. Now here's the problem. This number right here is never accurate because Schneider uses the zip code to zip code mileage. So you always want to go to Google Maps and calculate that. Plus you got to factor in your deadhead. This is just a 292 for the loaded miles. So what you need to do is consider where you're coming from to pick this load up, and then Google Map it, see which way you're going to go, and then actually figure out your actual miles. Same thing with this one. Ohio to PA, pays $902. It's a live load on a Thursday at 11 a.m., and it delivers on a Friday between basically midnight to midnight. It's a drop and hook on the other end. So you got a live load on the pickup, drop and hook on the delivery. 324 miles, $278 a mile. It weighs 18,000 pounds. Again, though, these miles are not accurate, and you have to factor in your deadhead. So let's just make an example. Hold on one second. Okay, we got our example all drawn up here. So again, this is we're going to call this load number 1, and this is load number 2. All right, we're going to say we're in Columbus, Ohio, and we found these loads. So number 1 pays $705. Number 2 pays $902. Now, what's the obvious choice you're thinking? Ooh, $902. That's almost $200 more. Well, okay, keep that in mind. So you're going to look down. Here's your deadhead. 73 miles on load number 1. 141 deadhead miles on load number 2. Loaded miles was 253. Loaded miles on load number 2 was 327. Now, here's your total. 326 miles, 468 miles. Now watch. This load with all miles is going to pay $216. The other one's going to pay $1.93. There's how you get that. You divide the rate by the total miles, and that'll give you your rate per mile. So you see, load number 1, even though it pays less, is actually the better choice because rate-wise, it pays more. And not only that, now I know where these loads are going. I know what these loads are because I've done both of them. And I can tell you that that's the thing with studying the load board. So you want to know where this load goes, it's going to put you in a better spot. Where this load goes, you can still get a load from there, but you're going to have to deadhead further to get one. So that's why I say study the load board. But you can see if this was me and I was looking for these 2 loads, I would book this load because I know I can go about 60 miles and get another load. Whereas here I'm going to have to deadhead probably about 90 because where this goes, there's really nothing that's coming out of that spot right there. Once in a while there will be, but you can't bank on it. So that's what I'm saying. So you really got to pay attention. And I hope this example opened up your eyes a little bit to why it's really important to expand your search and really study that board. Because you can see here, don't just chase the money. Make the smart decision. If it was me, I'm taking that load. So let me flip this around. I'll be right back. Okay, so those are just that was just one example. And again, I knew all of those loads that I showed you, I knew where they were going because I've done both of those loads. So that's where becoming familiar with that load board really, really helps. Now, I can tell you that also you have to be able to rationalize to yourself, okay, if I put myself in a certain position, what's going to be my best option to get out of a certain area? So I'm going to show you another example of that real quick. So hang on. Right, here's another scenario. Whoop. All right. So I was in Maryland, and I had 2 options of 2 different ways I could go. Option 1, option 2. You see it. Number one paid $512. Number two pays $551. All right, well, you're thinking, well, it's only what, 12, I don't know, just call it $40 roughly difference, right? Well, let me show you why that makes a big difference. Number one, I had the option of not deadheading at all. I could have got a load right back out of where I was. Option two, I had to deadhead 74 miles. With load number one, it was 420 loaded miles, but with load number two, it was only 240 miles. So you can see 420 miles versus a total of 314. Here's your difference right there. First load would have paid me $1.22. Second one paid $1.75. So this one was 16,000 pounds. This one was 11. So you got to be able to rationalize it to yourself. Okay, you might be thinking, oh wow, I don't have to deadhead. I can get a load right back out of where I was. But you can see by this example that sometimes deadhead is not always the enemy. I actually made more money. Yeah, the amount was higher, but look at the rate per mile. I made more money on load number two than I did on load number one. So you have to be able to rationalize that kind of stuff in your head. Plus, this load puts me in a good area. This load puts me in a good area. So you have to really think to yourself, all right, well, when it really comes down to money, you got to be able to look at it and see, well, what's the better deal? In this case, it's this load. So let me flip this around. All right, so those are just a few search tips and different load scenarios and things like that. Those are all things that I consider, and that's the way that I kind of approach the load board. Again, it all comes back to studying that thing when you first get here. If you know what's what, you'll look at a load, you'll know what it is, you'll know where it's going, you'll say, okay, I know kind of what's in that area. I know if I'm going to have to deadhead a little bit further or whatnot, you know. So it's all about paying attention. And again, those are things that I do. There's no right way or wrong way. I'm not saying my way is the best way, but I just wanted to put that out there. So hopefully you guys can take that information. And for you newer guys that are here, maybe it'll open your eyes a little bit. For people that are thinking about coming over, maybe it'll clear some things up for you. And I apologize, I can't show you the actual load board. Like I said before, that's proprietary. I get in trouble for that. But sky's the limit, man. If you are smart about what you do over here, you can do okay. Here's a real quick scenario. When I was a company driver, I would bust my ass and I would make, if I was lucky, $700 a week running OTR. I'm going to go home for 5 days knowing what I know about the load board. I know where I can go, what I can find. I'm not going to gross that much. I'm only going to do 2 loads, but I'm going to pocket, after all my expenses come out, I'm going to pocket about $900. Now think about that. That's $900 for 2 days of work versus running 7 days, running 3,500 miles, making $700. Again, if you approach this like a business, you make the smart decisions, it will work out fine. And I have no doubt that this is a good program. It's set up well. You can make money here. Again, it's all about the way you search, you know, your diligence, your patience, your work ethic, what you're willing to put into it, because you're only going to get out of it what you put into it. So hopefully this helps out some people out there. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. You can email me if you want, helpwithtrucking@hotmail.com. Although, again, sometimes it's hard for me to get back to those emails. So, especially when I go home. I don't even mess with it when I go home. So, having said that, again, I appreciate you watching this video. Hopefully it helped you out a little bit. And if you want, like I said before, leave comments if you want to. So until next time, everybody, be good, be smart, be safe. I'm going to get ready to roll out of here, go pick up my load, and I will see you down the road later on.